Good afternoon, America, the greatest country on earth, where hope springs eternal. Today, we have three special guests with us talking about how life is a participation sport and you got to get in the game. So here we are. We have Zed Pitts from the Army. We have Juan Alcivar from the Army. And we have Jose Miranda, U.S. Navy. And so I'll have each of them introduce themselves, and we'll get right into it. We'll start with you, Zed.
Hey everyone, I'm First Lieutenant Zed Pitts. I'm actively serving as a reservist, and I'm also a Department of the Army civilian here in Minnesota. And I've worked with John many years ago. I want to say starting in 2014, where I did my first Ride to Recovery challenge, Texas challenge actually. And from that point on, I realized the importance of adaptive sports as far as like getting me back fit for duty after going through my medical treatments. So, because of cycling, because of adaptive sports and holistic health, I'm here today serving my country in a soldier and civilian capacity.
Awesome. We're going to get into Zed's story in a little bit. He's has a very fascinating background. Next up from the U.S. Navy, we have Jose. Jose was an amputee who contacted us. He was a local LA guy, and he started out on a hand cycle, and then got I don't know what you want to call it, but he wanted to try an upright bike, and as above the knee amputee, it's a lot harder without that knee, but he did it, and he has a great story about that first upright bike that we'll get into. And take it away, Jose.
Going on, everybody? My name is Jose Miranda. Served in the Navy for 6 years. I met John, I want to say somewhere between 2012, 2014 as well. It's possible that maybe we've interacted in that same Texas challenge as well. I think that's the one that Cindy went on, my wife. How I got started in adaptive sports, there was an adaptive program out of UCLA where I went out there, did some adaptive kayaking. From there, I was introduced to hand cycling. And then I went to the Abilities Expo here in LA where I met a representative from Right to Recovery as well. And it kind of started there. It started doing with the local rides with some of the local hubs. And then eventually I started getting pretty aggressive with my training to where I started doing challenges. I believe I did like 4. We went from Chicago to Detroit, Boston to Philadelphia, Houston to Dallas, and then from Palo Alto down to LA. And that kind of just opened things up for me, from hand cycling to upright cycling to playing wheelchair basketball, a little bit of everything. The one thing I had was outlets. If one wasn't working for me, I was able to switch to the other. If I reached a point where like, hey, maybe I need to switch it up, and then I'll go back to basketball, or I'll go back to hand cycling, or I'll go back to upright. And John will tell you, man, I've had so many ups and downs with the upright where legs weren't staying on, they were falling off, and trying to make all sorts of different modifications. I think I've total I went through like maybe 8 different setups on legs on how to properly get going. At one point I said, screw it, man, I'm gonna just I already don't have a leg. I might as well just ride without it. And I rode all the way down the coast of California on just one leg. Probably never do that again like that. But it was definitely it was a learning experience, you know what I mean? But it also taught me what not so much my physical, but the new limits that I found mentally of where like, hey, now I know my cap, and this cap can be my minimum. So therefore I can always keep pushing forward as long as I have the will to go do so, you know what I mean?
Awesome. And Juan's story, he's been a frequent guest and co-host here on Hope Springs Eternal. And we just love having him on. He's always the life of the party. And for a guy who went from 360 pounds down to 202, right? 202 now?
202.
202. Getting there. Deuce is wild. And just love having that energy and that positivity. And he was also one of the first participated in the very first Warrior Games in 2010 at Colorado Springs, and set the world on fire when the Army team took on the Marine Corps team in sitting volleyball.
Oh, that was the best match ever. Hey, everybody. My name is Juan Alcivar, also known as Coach Juan. I've been coaching volleyball since I got out of the military, and just love sharing my story, love sharing just the positivity where this program brought to me and gave me my life back. And as both of the gentlemen here know, how much adapter sports and just giving us that sense of like where we can do something ourselves. And it's very, very important hearing Jose's story about him only having one leg and being able to do that, but just and mentally breaking through those barriers and breaking through that mental barrier of like, we know how people see us when we first get injured or something, and they're like, oh, be careful and everything. But we know we want to push. We know we want to push because that was our job. Our job was to push mission and just go forward and to be, you get injured, something happens. Just know that there's been guys like Jose, like said, like myself, like John, that have had those like back slips or just something happen, but we keep pushing forward. And that's what we're here to promote. And we're here to just let you guys know that it's not the end. You can push yourself past your limits.
Yeah, it's all about embracing the suck, because
Yes, I love that.
life is not a straight line or a easy road. It is all about the ups and downs and how you handle those, and what's the best way to push through. Like you said, it's always about pushing through. And I know that Jose will start kind of like in the challenges that you did. I'm sure there's been a few days where the weather was probably not conducive to actually riding from point A to point B. So what would you say was the thing that really was like was there an aha moment along the way that really worked for you?
Well, actually, I'll get very specific to a moment that I had on the Minuteman Challenge where you gave me the bike. My weather conditions from when I got injured, it was storming, it was raining out to sea, right? And we were flying down the street, like maybe 20, 25 miles an hour. And for a really long time, I had not felt alive like that. You know what I mean? Especially the visual of having an incomplete body, right? The last time I felt alive like that, I was whole. There was no limitations. But if anything, there was more limitations when I was whole, when I was a able body compared to when I lost a leg. When I lost a leg, some people would be like, okay, you got physical limitations. I'm like, no, I do not. Watch me do this. Before I probably would have been like, oh, I don't know, like I might not be able to do that. And now I was on a mission to prove people wrong. You know what I mean? Whatever it took, whatever it meant, I'm gonna do it. So at that time, I didn't have control of my triggers, my PTSD, or anything like that. And it just starts raining on us. And I'm still cranking. I'm in the front of the pack. I'm going on the hand cycle. And then it just starts pouring rain. And I'm just like, oh shit, I'm getting ran over again. But I wasn't getting ran over again, but because I had not dealt with my trauma, that to me it was happening all over again. But all I was doing is I was living in a memory, right? I wasn't actually in the present. So I peeled off. I had, support from people in the group. And one of the ladies in the support vehicle, she said, hey, until you deal with your triggers and your trauma, this is going to keep happening no matter what you do, no matter what activity is going on. So that led to interest to me to go back to therapy, right? So I can get a hold of that. So now that was my aha moment. Like, I got to get a hold of my triggers. I got to get a hold of my stuff, because no matter what I'm doing, it's always going to set me back, right? Because I give into it because I think I'm getting ran over again. But really, I'm not. I'm just simply just remembering what happened. So that for me was my aha moment. Like, I had a little bit of help, but that's what it was for me.
Would you say it was getting out of your comfort zone, but then having that support there at the same time? That combination really helped that?
It did, because after that I was scared to come back out, because I felt like I was pulling people back or I was holding them back, but it was really just me. So yeah, I definitely out of my comfort zone. Could also meant riding at speeds that I've never touched before. It was also going, certain incline hills that I've never reached before and bombing down these hills at speeds that I've never had before. So a combination of all that, it was like, if I can enjoy all this, imagine how much more can the enjoyment be if I'm right in my mind. You know what I mean? So everything once started falling in place and I started dealing with things and one right after another. Now I can be out in the rain. Like it doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? So now I look back, I'm like, dang, I look at like how far I've come, but look at how much I've been able to overcome and in the process also help others to do the same.
Paying it forward.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Zed? What was your kind of aha moment?
All right,
Yes.
for a long time, before I had my autoimmune disease hit, um, and before the radiation therapy, I used to be into powerlifting. And so I had to transition from that mindset of I'm extremely strong and I can move anything, I can move mountains if I put my mind to it, to taking a step back and reassessing my new physical limits and build from my new normal. So cycling, when I first tried to get on the bike, I was talking to Mark Catapan, by the way. He was my adaptive sports coordinator at the Soldier Recovery Unit out at Fort Bliss. He was working with my endocrinology team and my nurse case manager, and they were warning him that because of my disease at the time, I couldn't um, involve myself in high impact sports. I had to go to something more low impact. And so taking up cycling and realizing that I had to do something new in order to get myself back fit for duty, I had to do something different. I had to be a little bit more creative when it came to the rehabilitation process. So the aha moment for me was, oh, well, I can be fit for duty, but I don't have to do it the suck it up and drive on way. I know you started off with that, but sometimes you gotta take a knee and reassess and then work with professionals and work with other people that have gone through something similar, like to what you're going through, and kind of follow in their footsteps, but kind of more or less modify the footsteps to your needs. So special, you take control of your recovery process. So there are three things I noticed. I had to first realize that my life has changed. It's different now. Then I had to listen to people that were in alignment with my needs to get back fit for duty. Then I had to connect socially to other people that have gone through similar things that I have, or I've been going through, or currently experiencing at the time, and build my own customizable healthcare process. So that was an aha moment for me. I hope that makes sense. Building an ecosystem to where I could self-empower and utilizing cycling got me to where I am today. So going from powerlifting to endurance sports was the thing that I had to do in order to get fit for duty. Mhm.
That's awesome. And yeah, the programs that we had at the military WTUs at the time, now they're called SRUs, I believe.
Mhm.
But that was instrumental in getting so many active duty service members, back in the game for sure.
And I think what we've learned with your programs and the programs that we have is that we're going to need these programs in the future, especially with what's going on now in the world and everything. We know that these are important programs that should be in place already. We shouldn't wait, because before we waited for people to already be injured and everything, where we should be almost in a sense catching them as soon as they're injured. We're catching them and putting them right into these programs, right into the things that we know that already worked for us as soldiers and for us that we've already done. We've already laid down the groundwork for this. John have already laid down the groundwork for this. So it's not like we're reinventing the wheel's not being reinvented. We just need to have these things in place, so then we're ready to go if we do get mass injuries and stuff like that, and you have all these injured soldiers and everything. It's not where they're gonna have to go through what I went through, what Jose went through, what Zed went through. They're not having to have to go through these. Oh my God! And we can be there, being like, hey, we've been there. This is the program that's going to lead you to getting back to where we are now.
No, and that's so important. And I know that you, Juan, and Jose both, when you came into the program, you were prescribed, 8, 10, 15 prescription drugs. And then, that wasn't necessarily that wasn't necessarily working for you.
No, it was not. So that proves it right there, you can't just say, okay, here's some pills, Jose, here's some pills, here's some stuff. Now go deal with it on your own. No, as we all know as military people, and we all know as athletes, because in a sense, I feel like the military mirrors being an athlete. If you guys can follow me here for a second, being in the military, we're athletes because we're training all day, we're doing everything, and then when we do go to like an Iraq or we do go to Afghanistan, that's where it's like our Super Bowl. We have to go and then now perform, and then we go out and we perform and we do the best we can. But then when you get injured, what does the athletes do? They go and they have the best care they get, and they get back on the field. That's what we wanted. When you get injured, you just want to get back on the field. But we got to understand it. We have to, like Seth was talking about, he has to understand like his new normal. There's something I can't go back to the way I was training. I got to reassess and reevaluate. Jose can't go back to the way he was training. He has to reassess, reevaluate the way he trains, the way he now has to motivate himself. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go pick up basketball. I'm going to play wheelchair basketball today. You know what? Today I'm not feeling basketball. I'm gonna go do hand cycling. You know what? I'm feeling really strong today. I'm gonna go upright today. I might have some problems, but you know what? I'm gonna work through it. And it's an everyday thing that we're always gonna be working through. And it's grabbing stories like this and teaching the next generation that they're gonna have to learn how to. We already been through it in a sense. So we are just we lay down the groundwork. And that's why it's so important to have the programs that we built, the programs you built, John, and just already have it. So it's trying to get them to understand that we already done it. It's not a prove it. We've already been there. We have the test, the studies. We have the test studies. We have the real physical people that has helped Jose, said, myself, all the people that you have, in a sense, pushed or touched in a way in their life. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
So one of the cool things is the Winter Olympics just concluded, and by the way, go U.S. hockey, men's and women's. It's awesome when we dominate someone else's sport. One of the great things that came out of Ride to Recovery was the Warrior Games, and I think all of you, I don't know, Jose, if you ever participated in the Warrior Games, but I know it's been a big part of Juan and Zed's. So to kind of talk about like not just your own experience, but what about the experience the guys that you competed with? Talk a little bit about the impact that the Warrior Games has had. We'll start with you, Zed, because I know you're really big into it.
So I can speak to the results of it. So right now I'm still in contact with some of the athletes from my cohort back in 2015. I mean, I've done it twice, 2015, then the Invictus Games, and then again, DoD Warrior Games in 2016. And what I realize is those connections that I made at the Warrior Games kind of reinforces the mindset that I had developed when I was in the WTU at the time, SRU now, in the Army Care Recovery Care Program, where those same soldiers that I've competed with, I have a small or there's a small accountability system that kind of reinforces the psychology behind, hey, you're supposed to be fit for duty, okay, and then you're a soldier for life, okay. So it kind of reinforces that mental resiliency training that I learned in the Army that is kind of integrated more or less in my soldier daily duties or my Department of the Army civilian duties. And I carry the warrior game spirit with me in everything I do. So now, when I do my training, like I'm still riding and I ride more seriously now. And I notice that my cycling, sometimes I don't even touch weights, but I'm able to pass the Army fitness test with flying colors. Like, so, and it's like, so we can take what we're learning in these different venues or different settings, like the DoD Warrior Games, and we can apply it to, and I'm speaking from an actively serving person, right? And I'm applying what I've learned in those recovery units to my leadership, wearing the uniform or doing my HR stuff here at Fort Snelling, you know. Um, and also, there's that portion that fills in the gaps between the retired out, like they're retired out now, but they're still participating in the sports. And by having connection with me, who is actively serving, it reaffirms that, hey, they're not out. They're still connected to the military at some
And
capacity.
that connection is really important, don't you think?
Mhm. Yes, absolutely. Because sometimes they they wrap themselves up in the purpose of these games sometimes, like the competitions. And um, I would like to say, hey, yes, reaffirm your purpose by gamifying the experience of your recovery through these games, through these adaptive sports, but don't forget the importance of socially connecting with others that might be going through similar experiences, because that social connection fills in the gaps when the cameras go off. Like when DoD Warrior Games goes away, they're like, when it's here, it's a high. Mentally, you're like, hey, this is what I'm here for. I've trained, I've reached new limits, I've seen how I can push myself, even if I'm an amputee or diseased or what have you. And I'm showing the world like, hey, these adaptive sports work. But once the cameras go dark, now you have to deal with that mental, it's like a mental sunken place, if you will. And if you don't surround yourself shoulder to shoulder with other vets that are going through that same experience of training, socializing, pushing your limits, it can kind of it can put you in a depressive state. So what I learned from the DoD Warrior Games was, yes, it's important to learn. Yes, it's important to push your limits, but you should also stay socially connected with people, especially that's going through similar issues, and always stay creative, always stay engaged. Don't be alone. Don't silo yourself off. Don't isolate yourself. Um, so that's one thing that I pulled away from the Warrior Games and Invictus Games alike. Um, and so and I'm learning every day, John. Like I'm learning how to find connective tissue with a volleyball player. I don't know how to play volleyball, but there's some overlap there when it comes to the mental aspect of What does it mean to engage in adaptive sports? What does it mean to be a disabled veteran? How do you capitalize on your capabilities? And to expand for me, because I'm actively serving, how do I take all of that I learned as a cyclist under the Ride to Recovery flag, Project Hero, now Life Aid? How do I take that to be lethal? Like be lethal on the battlefield or in my soldier duties. And I'm thinking to myself, if we were to expand on one's idea, if we were to implement adaptive sports in the actively serving units, like active duty, National Guard, Reserve alike, where we have an adaptive sports program built in. You mentioned wearables, we have the technology. Commanders could like gauge the overall well-being of their soldiers. Are they sleeping? Because if they're not sleeping, how are they going to be lethal when they go out into the battlefield to protect our nation? Like, what does that look like? I'm thinking Life Aid already has that app. Like, we could utilize the app to connect wearables to where before soldiers deploy, we're collecting data, health data while they're deployed. we're we're collecting data, and we're not just collecting data. We actually have things in place, and this is all conceptual. We have things in place to where it's not just MWR. We shouldn't look at riding bikes or playing flag football as just recreation. That can actually be recovery. That can actually reinforce being lethal on the battlefield. You're working with you're playing these games and things of that nature in the NWR setting is great, but how do we make it make sense when it comes to being a soldier? And that's one thing I want to kind of I've been meditating on, and I want to get with you, John, later. Like this should be an ongoing conversation. But if we can get in front of Pete Hegseth, Mr. Hegseth for me, RFKJ, director, Doug Collins, like if we can run this by them and say, hey, we have a plan. We have Life Aid. We have programs like that. Can we run it? Can we run this by you? Can we take some units and do a pilot program? So I know this is probably going off on a tangent,
No,
but I
actually,
wanted to
I,
bring that up
no, I think
in
it's
this
really good. I
conversation.
mean, you're hitting on some things that Juan and I have been working on, and that's why we want to have this discussion. It's not recreation. You're right. It's integrated holistic health is what it is. And that's why I like to use that term, integrated holistic health, because they're multiple things, but it's all related. Like you mentioned, the activity is related to sleep. Your mindset is related to how you function, what you eat. If you eat real food, touch dirt. There's certain things about life that are really important for your overall well-being. And to your point, with the app, obviously we can measure and give information to the individual soldiers about their overall health in the pre-deployment phase. We can look at what happens during the deployment. How does that affect your overall health and well-being? And then when you come home, understand what services or support or resources need to be made available to you so you can get back to where you were, or get better, or increase your lethality, if you want to call it that.
And Jose, I have a question for you. So when you got into cycling, like decided that you wanted to get into cycling, I'm wondering, did you get your bike through your own means, or you said John gave you a bike? Is that how that worked?
50-50. So
50-50.
when I got into any kind of adaptive sports, it started through kayaking, and then wheelchair basketball, and then hand cycling. Right. When I first got introduced to hand cycling, it was by some of the guys out at the UCLA Adaptive Rec program. And I didn't even know the hand cycles existed, to be honest. Like, they're like, hey, we can still bomb it. If you are down for it, let's find out how fast we can go. I was also a lot lighter. This is kind of like before all the meds, right? Because at that time, I was transitioning into my darkest moment in life. I didn't know what was happening until it finally happened, and I didn't know what to do. So I was lighter, faster, stronger, and I think we made it up to like 23 miles an hour, right? And then from there, I was like, oh, like the first aha moment was I can still have fun with my leg off, my prosthetic leg off. Like that was pretty tight. So I was like, hey, when can we go again? And then we went like 2 days later and we banged out like 25 miles and I slept on my own. That was like, this is it. This is where it's at. 2 days later, we went and banged out another 25 and so on and so on. But they were lending me their bike as long as I needed. Right. And then that's when the abilities expos came around. I had a new physical therapist who was anti-physical activity. She goes, I want you to give up this. I want you to give up that. Like no basketball, no hand striking, nothing. Right. So when I come to the program, I didn't have my own bike. I was borrowing bikes.
Okay.
Right. So and then from there, we fired that PT. We got a new guy who's been like on board with everything. And also too, like kind of like the going into the what my new reality is, and also having a supportive team that's down to make that happen for you, that right there was vital for me because I didn't have that. I only had my will to continue, but I had a team that was holding me back. So once we made that change, that's when I shortly met John after that. And I did my first two events on a hand cycle. My third event, now I'm on an upright. That's when John gave me the upright bike.
Yeah.
So, and then now I was in a situation to where like, hey, someone lent me the bike. Now I can let someone else borrow the hand cycle. John still has it at his house to this day
No,
because of his.
someone's using it.
Oh, well, that's perfect. You see, but that's how it started for me, right? He gave me the upright. I started going from there, and then my wife got into the
we have to
riding as
to
well.
call timeout. We have to call timeout.
Oh,
What's that?
So here's a great story. We're in we're in New York City, and whenever we rode through New York, Macy's was a great partner of the program, and so they would host a breakfast at the original Macy's in Manhattan. You know, the Macy's from Santa Claus, and so we're sitting there eating breakfast, and General Casey, who was the chief of staff of the Army, comes up to me and he says, John, I was given this felt bike, and I can't use it, and I want to donate it to a rider. And so he and I were eating breakfast, and we decided that we knew what we were going to do with that bike. And so General Casey donated that bike to Jose, and we did a presentation there at Macy's. So I didn't do anything. General Casey was the one that got the upright bike for Jose, but it was a great opportunity. And again, it's all about paying it forward. Like you get your support, you get your life back on track, and now you help and become a magnet for others. And Jose was a great magnet for others because people would look at Jose and go, wow, look at what that guy's doing. Nothing's holding him back. You know, why am I holding myself back? Because that's, I think, what really happens. You talk about isolation, and guys end up holding themselves back because they don't. What? Yeah, I'll let you speak. I see you want to jump in there, Jose.
Yeah, well, on that note too, like we were all walking around getting breakfast and stuff, and he goes, "Hey, Jose, I want to talk to you." Right? This is John speaking, and he goes, "General Casey, this is the young man I was talking to you about." He introduces me to General Casey, and he goes, "Hey, I have a bike for you." And I was like, "What? Like, what do you mean?" Right? So then kind of explain what John just went through, and there was hesitation on my end, and General Casey's like, "Hey, I can see the look of doubt in your face. Like, you don't have to stick with it, but at least try it. You won't know unless you try." So in my mind, what I was replaying in my head was like all the times when my legs would pop off, because I had already started like an aluminum bike, but my legs would pop off. I got my leg popped off once, and I ran it over, and I fell into traffic.
Whoa.
The driver was just far enough to where he was able to swerve and not run me over. So I was thinking all that, like, I don't want to go through all that again, right? Like, I don't want to go through that all over again. But at the same time, it's like, but what if I get it right this time?
Yeah.
What if I get it right this time? And everyone who's succeeded or won a gold medal, they failed many times. That's why the reason why they're up there. So I was like, all right, here we go again, right? So I come back and I'm like, hey, I'm going to the VA. Like, I need this kind of leg. I need this kind of leg. I need this kind of leg. And you can tell John, you can ask John, failure after failure after. I even came to him one time. You can take your bike back because I am done with this. He goes, well, don't do that. Stick with it. And I stuck
Peter
with it.
Harsh, baby. Peter Harsh.
Yeah. Oh shit, wrong shirt. But yeah, I stuck with it, and because of the retreats that I've been to, I would hear a lot of kids hate their parents. This person's always drunk. This person's always high on pills. This and this and this and that. It's like, but they don't understand. I didn't want to be that. Therefore, I didn't
Yeah.
want kids. Like I didn't. I don't want kids. I didn't want a family. And in the beginning of this call, John just asked me how are my kids doing? My daughter turned 9. My son just turned 7. So that kind of goes to
Congratulations.
show. Thank you. So that kind of goes to show the power of one bike. And
The
So-
power of one bike.
So
Okay.
with that, I wanted to I'm gonna do a shameless plug. John, I am aware of this. You're about to be like, okay, I get this. So prescription medication, there should be equal parity when it comes to getting adaptive sports equipment and when you need big pharma type medication. It should be the same in my mind. Like, so
Well, there was a famous general that was a frequent participant, I should say, in the program, and he would always say the best prescription drug on earth is a bicycle.
there you go. There you go. So I just wish, I'm not trying to put any kind, this is not I'm not trying to be political or anything, but I just think it would only be fair to give adaptive sports equipment the same categorization or the same ability to be prescribed. I think there should be an authority both in the active military service, like when you go to a military hospital, instead of them, like if you have PTSD or you have been blown up by an IED, there should be a way to first prescribe um, adaptive sports equipment that might help, or some kind of holistic um, process. I think you mentioned hyperbaric chambers or something like that to deal with TBIs. Like, we should do that first
Mm.
before prescribing some kind of chemical equation and introducing it into our bodies, because that would perfect. I'm just speaking from an actively serving soldier perspective. That affects performance, that affects lethality, and then when you take it to the retired out, that affects people actually being able to socialize. They're zoned out on some kind of Xanax or something. They're not present. And when they're not present, they're not actively dealing with their issues. They're numbing themselves to it. So when they do have to deal with pain, physical, spiritual, and mentally, they
It's all
don't know
happening.
how. Their body doesn't know how to react
Yep.
to it.
the
So
thing is that people in power or people who have degrees who prescribe medications, like they're doing what they know from what they learned in the classroom or from a book. But to start on the other end, kind of like how you're suggesting, is they got to go through it. Like, let them go ride 60, 70 miles an hour, or not, I mean, up miles a day at whatever pace. Let their body break down so they understand what they're giving, because they haven't been through it. So they don't know exactly what it does for us. right? Like that chair is my leg sometimes. The bike is my leg sometimes. The hand cycle is my leg sometimes. And there's times where I'm better off on that with my leg off than when I am wearing my leg or when I'm on crutches or I'm in a wheelchair, right? They don't know, they don't understand. Maybe to some degree they'll probably mask it with, oh, it's a budget thing. But I don't think meds are cheaper than adaptive equipment.
Well, I guarantee you, bikes are cheaper than prescription drugs by a mile. Because
You
you
know,
buy a bike,
especially when
it
some
can
of these
last you
things are
years.
like when some of these things are being sent out on a monthly basis, they still send me my stuff for my mood. I don't take that shit. Like I have a whole cabinet full of stuff I can show you right now.
We all do, brother.
You
Brother,
know,
we
I
all
got some in
like.
the mailbox
Listen,
right now.
I
You know,
know.
but
I just got mine sent for the month. Listen to me. Everything you're saying is spot on. Said, Jose, everything you guys are saying is spot on. The thing that we have to understand is that there has to be an option. You're right. There has to be a holistic option. Or like if you're gonna take the pills and everything, you have to give us a choice. It can't just be take these things and we see it doesn't work because then we go back saying, oh, my mood is different or I'm more angry. Oh, well, take these other pills that's going to reduce your anger, but then it's going to mess your liver up. Oh, well, take this for your liver and then this is going to mess now your brain up. So it's just a cycle that we understand that we broke. We understood and we broke. There's a lot of us and a lot of us veterans that did not get that chance to break that cycle. We were one of the lucky ones that we went through something because we got to go through something hard. You got to go through the pain. Jose said, John, and we all know we have to go through the pain of whatever we're dealing with. We can't mask it with pills. We can't mask it with just, oh, well, this is just going to help temporarily. We know we understood that, okay, I have to get off these pills and I have to go through the pain. I have to go through all the situations that I have to take care of to be where I'm at now. That's so powerful that you just said that you didn't want kids, Jose, but you have kids now because this just helped you mentally. That's a beautiful thing, brother.
yeah, like the David Goggins book, The Can't Hurt Me, where he talks about the concept of past victories in the form of a cookie jar, right? Like that's my hand cycling is one of my cookies. Upright cycling is one of my cookies. Basketball is one of my cookies. Because I'm not gonna lie, I have my days. I'm not
Yes,
100%. I'm not 100% right all the time, but I've
agree.
But that's
been at
okay.
100.
But
And I've
that's
been at 100% plenty of times post injury. I just go back and I just go grab my cookie and I remember and I just simply try to figure out what is the formula for my current problem, and I go from
Yes.
there. You know what I mean? And that's without pills. With pills, I I couldn't do that. I'm gonna be asleep, and if I'm not asleep, I'm groggy as hell because I'm fighting that sleep or whatever else it would bring. You know what I mean? Now, right now, my current is we took down the den. We're building a patio. That's my med right now. That's what's helping me sleep. That's what's helping my mind because it started with a bike in New York.
And you're in the moment. You're in
Yeah.
the moment. Something earlier, you weren't in the moment, but you building that deck, it makes you feel like you're in the moment. Also, it gives us a sense of purpose. Riding that bike, understanding, oh, you know what? I got 25 miles today. I'm excited. You're more excited for the 25 miles. And then you kind of feel sad at the end when you finish. You're like, damn, I feel like I could maybe do another 20.
Yeah.
But
Or if I don't go as far, but I can go maybe 5, 7 miles faster. Like,
yeah,
and then how far can I go at that speed? You know what I mean? So it's like I'm always chasing something. Like I
yes,
once you get that like that itch or that
adrenaline.
feeling of yeah, it's like I just want a little bit more. And that you know what that leads to? Sleep.
sleep. Yes,
Sleep. And
good
it's crazy
sleep.
how something so simple right now is like a luxury because of what we went through. We've been trained to, you know, to deal with certain, length of shifts. On the ship, I was working on the flight like 20 hours a day.
Yep.
And that was at 18 years old. I got hit at 19. I'm 41 now, and sometimes I still go 3 days without sleep.
Yeah.
It's not normal, but that's normal for me. But, and that's just not normal. But
Yeah,
I'm
no,
so strong,
understandable.
so all because of,
Listen, Jose, you know what you have to say. That's understandable. We all look. Said sees it, and he understands. He's like, "Yeah, we've been there. I've been there. 20 hours. John's been there. We all been there. We understand, brother. I like this is and this is why we're pushing very hard for this. This is why I love the veteran community because even when they did try to, in a way, attack us, or with trying to do the whole if the pills are working, then your percentage is going to go down. Listen, we quickly put an end to that. We quickly reacted. And that's something I love about the veteran community, even the active community people, because it's going to affect them when they get out. If us, the veterans that are out now, aren't taking care of the stuff that we have, when SET comes out, he's going to have to deal with crap, new crap that we've never even dealt with. So that's why I believe in what the mission we have now. Something I felt it's like when I got out, I didn't have a purpose, I didn't have mission. Now I have this purpose and mission to like, hey, any veteran that comes across my way, anybody that needs help, I'm here to help. And I didn't understand that when I left the military, and other veterans were helping me out. But now I understand it now that I've been out. Even if it's grabbing a cup of coffee and just sitting down and listening to a veteran. Because sometimes that's all you need. You just need somebody to see you. You need somebody to hear you.
like the other day, I met this dude at my brother-in-law's house, right? He's currently an active Army recruiter. And he says that the Army will give him 65% if he got out, right? But he's holding on to get a higher rating because he doesn't know that the VA rates you differently. So
Yeah.
he's pushing through stuff that he shouldn't be pushing through. You know what I mean? And like we're taught to adapt and overcome, right? Shoot and communicate, whatever the case may be, to defeat the enemy. But now the fight that we fight cannot be won with long range support. There's no
No.
air support for that. There's
No.
there's no assault rifle sidearm for that. It's a different kind of fire team that we require now. And
Yeah.
that's what and that's what a lot of us leaving don't understand. That was good in the battlefield, but we're now transitioning to a new battlefield.
I like that. We are in a new battlefield because that's what it is. When you come back to the civilian world, you come back here. It's not like I said it in an interview. When I went to Iraq, when we were out on our thing in our purpose, I felt free because that was my job. We were trained. I was trained for years to do that job. Now I come back here, there's a lot of restrictions that I don't understand because I've operated in this space for so long that when I come back here, and now I'm the one looked at like I'm a different animal compared to everybody else. Everybody else looks at you, all the civilians look at you like, is he crazy? Da, da, da. No, we just learned to operate in a different environment. And now that you're seeing what's happening in the world, there's going to be a lot of more people that's going to come back operating in whatever they're operating in. And we as civilians, because in a sense we're backing the civilian, we have to understand. Now, being a veteran civilian, you understand that part of like, oh, wait, this guy's a veteran. I remember one time I had to step in to a guy getting not harassed, but they called the cops on him. And I'm like, no, this guy's a veteran. He just needs somebody to talk to. You don't need to like treat him that way. And that's all it is. It's like, hey, take a second to just put your goggles on. That's a human being, and he is a veteran. He just needs help. You guys are treating him like he's an animal.
Yeah.
John, you've been quiet.
No,
I
I'm
see
just
your
letting you
mind.
guys.
I see
I
you
mean,
like.
the whole point of this is to let you guys have this conversation. I think it's really important. And to your point, like there needs to be an option. There needs to be a new lane that can be a integrated holistic health and well-being lane that's not a traditional medical clinical lane, because the VA only has one lane right now. It's medical clinical. And even though they have a whole health program, they don't really have a whole health program the way that we see it, the way that it would be effective. But it's really not, they don't really have the options of the kind of stuff that we would do if we were in charge.
Yeah, like
And
my guy,
also,
my
and
guy at the
also like
VA.
I would like to say, of course, I'm speaking from the actively serving point of view. I want to promote, or I'm advocating for the integration of this while we're serving now. Like, so it's not a, that's the cost saving thing. I'm no economist, but I can deduce from what I see how many pills are being taken, the number of incidents that we had in historically, news feeds where veterans go off the rails and do like this, um, egregious acts of violence, and it's because they don't have the support mindset now. It's like we're all taught to suck it up and drive on, and we internalize any kind of trauma, mental, spiritual, or physical, and we just move on with a pill, maybe. Or we tighten up our boots. If we twist our ankles, we move on. And I think if we do that before, during, and after care of our soldiers while we're serving, when we retire out, one doesn't have to go out and talk to the civilians and say, hey, this is what's going on, because the civilians already know. The actively serving service, the all branches, including Space Force, are integrating these holistic, health and fitness type programs into their operations, like their day-to-day operations. Is not an afterthought, is not an MWR experience. And
No,
so
exactly.
if we have to get programs like Life Aid to come in, or SOAR to come in, and it's a part of, or SOAR or Life Aid, they're just a part of the day-to-day operations of military processes. I think it would make more sense on the back end, on the retired end, and the VA doesn't have to worry about, um, the cost of running a medical care facility, because a lot of the holistic health and fitness, that's the H2F, by the way, Pete Hegseth is pushing or promoting and running in the Army. I can only speak for the Army. Um, when we come out the other end, a lot of the healthcare costs are reduced, because not only do we have soldiers that know how to take control of their medical care, they can articulate what their needs are. So it's now, uh, there's a very specific laser focused, result, or, care plan for the individual soldier through the VA system, or if the soldier decides not to go through the VA system, through whatever civilian medical care facility. And then we don't have to worry about our tax dollars or whatever pouring into the VA for all of these, new experimental, like, it doesn't have to be that way if we integrate it in the front. That's what
No,
I'm saying.
I agree, and we're working on some programs with some active duty components now,
Hmm.
and I agree. When a group comes back from a deployment, there should be a specific program that they go through. Um, they don't just go scatter to the winds and go drinking and go do whatever, whatever they do when they come back from deployment.
Hmm.
There needs to be like a specific type of program that we would offer that would really help, especially if they were like the guys that are out there in the Middle East right now getting bombed, right? So you're going to have a lot of head injuries and different concussions or downstream effects of being around a lot of the um, concussions. You know, we just had a U.S. bobsledder come on the podcast last week, that we got to meet. So he's now going to be joining our cycling program. I'm actually going to take him out for a ride today. And he was talking about the head injuries that he sees from bobsledding, which I didn't really think about. I mean, I think obviously if you're in the bobsled and you crash or something like that, but this, because of the head injury and the head trauma from the G forces that you generate going through the chute, going down the hill each time, that repetition adds up on the brain, and he had a lot of issues. And then he started talking to pilots, especially fighter pilots, that had the same sort of effects, from the G forces. And then when you talk about, we already know from our life aid testing that artillery groups and things like that, every time you shoot off a round from an artillery group, you're experiencing brain trauma at whatever level. And so there is a capability where hopefully you're going to get this thing off the ground, capability to have a holistic health integrated program that can be for active duty and veterans and first responders, for that matter, firefighters, police officers, EMS, etc.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that's such a great idea, because even if you're in, and let's just take it simple, you do your 15 months. Well, I don't know. I know when I was when we went out to Iraq, we had to do 15 months. But even as simple as something that's just a traumatic part, like you might have not got hurt, but just, if we know roadside bombing, IEDs, right? Like even something as, I could not even get on a vehicle. When I went home, I was scared to if I wasn't driving, I was scared because I'm every single little piece of trash, and that's here. But in my mind is still there. So to be able to come back home and say, hey, let me get in this program, work all this out before I get, because you get guys that come back and they're still in the mindset of there. And yes, they're here, they go drinking, they do all this stuff that I would say it's not, I would say positive in a way. And then they get into a situation where, yeah, there's violence and stuff like that, or even veterans that feel like the VA is not taking, and they have to do something crazy to go to the VA and take their lives in front of the VA just to send a message. Like, it shouldn't come down to that. It shouldn't come down to that. I do agree. Starting early on when you're in, so you, at least you're learning while you're in how to get, when you're out, how to look for those outlets, than being thrown out there and then you're flopping in the winds for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, however long, and then you finally find it, maybe. But how many guys have not found it? How many guys have not found that? That's the question. It's like, we could early on be saving tons of life.
I can tell you right now from our data, I can tell you guys from our data that the immediate transition period is not the most stressful. The most stressful time is from year 2 to year 5, which you just were talking about, Juan. That's the most stressful time, because when you first get out, you still maintain some connection with the guys that you served with. But as you go down that 2 to 5 year path, each one of those years, you become more and more isolated. And then you struggle because you don't know where to go, or you're not able to find what you need. And then hopefully, like you said, by that 5th year, you get that connection, and then, you're able to go on. But that 2 to 5 year period is actually the most stressful time in the transition.
Where you could be working those 2 to 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like that first year to that 5 year, there could be already a program. They could go on a bike ride with other veterans. They can go do wheelchair basketball. They can do the things that are going to put them in those places with those veterans to help them out, instead of trying to figure it out ourselves. Because I'll say, you probably, that first year, when you got out, those first years, did you have the care? Did you struggle those first years?
I'm actually gonna go to John's point because my flare up happened a year too. I got out in April. By June, I was already working. I didn't have the transition issue that that most people have, right? This is also we're also talking back in 2009, right? I got out in April. I didn't get my first disability check till November. Like people aren't waiting that long anymore, right? But because I was working full time, I did have benefits. I didn't use the VA until like almost 2.5 years out. And that's when everything started happening. I was like, okay, like this is kind of getting expensive out of pocket. Let me go to the VA, right? My legs were broken and everything. I'm gonna go to the VA. My mental health, let me go to the VA. And because I was used to things happening fast because I did have a job, when, all right, your emergency appointment is gonna be 6 months out. I'm like, okay, that's just kind of like a long time, you know what I mean? But also
Yeah.
too is part of that transition or part of the program that you guys are like speaking of to get going before they get out is to normalize getting help. Some people they get clowned on if they're gonna go get help. I was down at Camp Pendleton 2 weeks ago because with my amputation, I have a job to where we simulate combat casualties, and because I'm not combat related, it doesn't affect my PTSD. One of the dudes got he was struggling with something, and he goes, "I'm going to go to medical," and I'm guessing it's his NCO in the Army, right? He goes, "Stop being a pussy and just get back to work." Like, why is that a problem? So that should be normal without any repercussions to where like I know I'm leaving, I know I'm going to get out, like I need to start getting my treatment now before I'm out, before it becomes difficult. Right now, it's when it's easy. Right now is when the care that's available that should be part of that pre-transition phase.
And to that point, Jose, like that's why I was thinking like using the app like the Life Aid app with the wearables, it's extracting the data of the whole like as much as it can from the soldier. It's sending notifications to the commander, hey, this soldier is running hot. We need to pull them off the line. In the event that NCO says what he says to the soldier when the soldier was trying to seek care, you hold that NCO accountable for that because he's affecting the lethality of the soldier being able to protect our borders, protect our nation. So that's how I'm thinking right now. So I'm glad you brought that up because that made me mad as you were talking. Not to be all emotional, but that's
No,
a
no,
that's a
and
huge
No,
because
like
no,
it's
issue.
it's a lot of things
that,
that go hand in hand. Like I know when I was going through my rehab when I was still active duty, there was a specific program just for amputees at the hospital. And for me, I'm not gonna lie, it was pride. My pride held me back a lot. But they're like, hey, you want to go play wheelchair basketball? I'm like, hell no. Like, I worked hard to get out of a wheelchair. Why am I gonna go back to a wheelchair? People were telling me like, oh, you won't be walking in 6 months. Watch me. My leg is completely mangled, but watch me. I'm gonna do it in 6 months. And I did it in 5, right? But when it came down to like to me, a wheelchair was such a negative image. If I go back to a wheelchair, I'm proving everybody right, and I will not prove everybody right. I'm gonna prove everybody wrong and get moving. You know what I mean? And for me, it's like kind of like a regret, like because where would I be now if I would have accepted that help back then? You know what I mean? Because in my mind, I got to get right to get back. I wasn't accepting that I could no longer go back. My moving forward's different. Kind of like to the point to you what you were saying. For me, it was different, but I was refusing to accept that difference because I wanted to be as close as possible to what I was when that version of me no longer exists. It's a new version of me.
Yeah, you were
And
kind of like the football player from high school. He was the football star, but now he's like 40 years old and he's still trying to be that football star. It's like, let
yeah,
that go.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
different now. Like,
I
let's
think
be
I think there's
different.
a song called "Glory Days" or something like that, and where you
oh, say
we
that's very good. That's very good that you said it that way because There was a case manager that told me, this is the new you.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be that person, because every time we wake up, it's a new person. But like, you had it, yeah. When I first got injured, all I wanted to do was get back to who I was.
Mhm.
That person that hey, I was this big military, I had big quads and I carried all the stuff, and I was the unit for my team. That's what I wanted. I'm like, I need to be that again. But then she's like, no, 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 this is the new you. You have to understand that version of you is there, and it's gonna be there for a time. But like, you're moving forward to this new you. Because I was 350 pounds. I was 350 pounds. I was not in the best shape. I was complicated. I was already thinking about how I was gonna do everything and just be like, okay, I'm gonna take my life and this is how I'm gonna do it and da 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 da. But luckily, hey, John was there. He came in, told me about the bike. I cursed him out a little bit, I think. As we
I
all
think
do.
we all
Just a
have at
little.
one point.
You know, we all do. We all do it to be like, who's this guy talking about getting on a bike? But
Getting
if
in
it
those
wasn't
little
for
skinny
him,
suits.
listen, if it wasn't for him being that brash and being that bold and just getting in your face and us trying to prove him wrong, he proved us wrong. Because like, now we're on bikes and we're living good, and we're still here and we're pushing forward and we got a new mission. And you know, we thank him. I thank him every day that he was able to help me succeed. I got a bike because that bike I have right there, right?
Mine's right
Freaking
here.
big.
Mine's right here, like 5 feet away
Exactly.
from me. You know what I mean?
I
Like
still got it says ride.
it's part of our identity now. You know?
Yeah, bro.
No,
Absolutely.
but like
It used to be road to recovery. Now it's ride. It used to be road to recovery. I have one of the first carbon fiber bikes. I still got that thing. It's amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I got to say, as an individual, you know, I had an idea. The idea doesn't work if you guys don't embrace it and take the challenge on. And you know, like I always say, I can build the car, but I can't drive the car. And that's what you guys have to be. You have to be willing to take the wheel and drive your own car. And I think that's really been the sort of the key, is not only do you get to drive the car, but you get to drive the car with a bunch of guys who also need to drive the car, and you drive the cars together. And that mindset, the integration, the networking, and the drive, those four things together equal success, can put you on the path to success. And when people say, what does success look like? I'm like looking at three examples of it right here.
thank you.
Right
Thank
You
on.
know,
you. Thank you. No, thank you.
no, and then
That's
also to
great.
kind of like in the point that you were making, that I think John's pissed us all off at some point, right? But I met in the early stages of the COVID shutdown out in Colorado Springs. I met this Lee Rusan. He told me, he goes, hey, the more upset you get in a conversation, he goes, that's where you need to really slow down and really pay attention, because that conversation is what's going to shape your life or your future or your moment or your situation, your adversity, whatever it is that's present. You know, it ain't about like raising up and trying to challenge the person that's challenged you to be better version of yourself. You know what I mean? And that's what one of the benefits too to this organization is, you just never know who you're going to meet. You don't know what part of you they're going to develop that needs to be developed in order for you to be able to help someone else.
Agree. 100% agree. 100% agree. Hey guys, I gotta get going. I got an appointment I gotta make. You know how VA are. You don't make your appointments,
Don't
they'll
miss
get
it.
you.
No,
So
we can always have this again, and just keep plugging along. And for those at home, you know, it is possible for you to be successful. Like you said, it's mindset, it's integrating your opportunities, it's networking, it's drive, it's having that mission, that purpose. Um, you know, we talk a lot about hope, purpose, and community, but that's what it is. And, you know, we're hoping to do some big things here in the near future that'll affect, you know, the Department of War, the Veterans Affairs, HHS, and a bunch of others. And, you know, it'll be because of guys like you that make it possible. Because what we're advocating for, we already see success. We already know it works. And you guys are living examples of it. And I thank you.
No, thank you, John, as always. You know, thank you so much for your time, dude. Keep doing what you're doing, and let's keep pushing. I like that idea of getting everything actually in the military. I love that idea, Jose. Hey, congratulations on your kids, and keep it up, man.
Thank you. Appreciate
Hey,
you.
let's keep pushing together, keep pushing each other. John, I will see you.
Next couple of
And
days.
Josh, what?